Welcome, revelers. This is Off the Rails, Right versus Left, the podcast that we do because we think the left is evil. I'm Rob B.
And I'm Brad Lee.
And I'm Brian G.
And we are Off the Rails, Right versus Left. Again, we're doing this show because we think everybody needs to know that the left is evil.
Classic.
Welcome, revelers. I'm only going to be here for just a second because I'm going to jump in on the broadcast of the Biden speech, and then we will be coming back to it. So bear with me just a moment while I get the connection going to the speech being broadcasted right now.
Endorse the bill as well, the majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels a political win, he viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him, it's not about me. I'd be a winner, not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look.
Okay, guys, looks like we got 37 minutes more to go until the presser. I think it's kind of funny that this channel that's we're getting the stream from is actually putting up the State of the Union address. So I actually think that's pretty poignant from the guy who says that it's Republican rhetoric that's causing violence. So I'm going to go ahead and feed back into that. We're going to play right through the presser. I don't expect it to be long because Joe Biden's not capable of speaking for that long. And as soon as it's over, we'll be coming in with the show.
Join me in telling the Congress to pass it. We can do it together. But that's what he apparently here's what he will not do. I will not demonize immigrants saying they are poison in the blood of our country. I will not separate families. I will not ban people because of their faith. Unlike my predecessor on my first day in office, I introduced a comprehensive bill to fix our immigration system. Take a look at it. It has all these and more. Secure the border. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers. And so much more. But unlike my predecessor, I know who we are as Americans. We're the only nation in the world with a heart and soul that draws from old and new. Home to Native Americans, and ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Home to people of from every place on earth. They came freely. Some came in chains. Some came when famine struck, like my ancestral family in Ireland. Some to flee persecution, to chase dreams that are impossible anywhere but here in America. That's America. And we all come from somewhere, but we're all Americans. Look, folks, we have a simple choice. We can fight about fixing the border, or we can fix it. I'm ready to fix it. Send me the border bill now. A transformational moment in history happened 59 years ago today in Selma, Alabama. Hundreds of foot soldiers for justice marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, named after the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, to claim their fundamental right to vote. They were beaten, they were bloody, and left for dead. Our late friend and former colleague, John Lewis, was on that march. We miss him. Joining us tonight are other marchers, both in the gallery and on the floor, including Betty Mae Fikes, known as the voice of Selma. The daughter of gospel singers and preachers, she sang songs of prayer and protest on that bloody Sunday to help shake the nation's conscience. 5 months later, the Voting Rights Act passed and was signed into law. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But 59 years later, there are forces taking us back in time. Voter suppression, election subversion, unlimited dark money, extreme gerrymandering. John Lewis was a great friend to many of us here. But if you truly want to honor him and all the heroes who marched with him, then it's time to do more than talk. Pass the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And stop denying another core value of America, our diversity across American life. Banning books, it's wrong. Instead of erasing history, let's make history. I want to protect fundamental rights. Pass the Equality Act. And my message to transgender Americans, I have your back. Pass the PRO Act for workers' rights. Raise the federal minimum wage, because every worker has a right to a decent living more than $7 an hour. We're also making history by confronting the climate crisis, not denying it. I don't think any of you think there's no longer a climate crisis. At least I hope you don't. I'm taking the most significant action ever on climate in the history of the world. I'm cutting our carbon emissions in half by 2030, creating tens of thousands of clean energy jobs, like the IBEW work is building and installing 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Conserving 30% of America's lands and waters by 2030. And taking action on environmental justice fence line communities smothered by the legacy of pollution. And patterned after the Peace Corps and AmeriCorps, I launched the Climate Corps to put 20,000 young people to work in the forefront of our clean energy future. I'll triple that number in a decade. To state the obvious, all Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America is safer today than when I took office. Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%.
All right, guys, we're going to stop that historical stream, and we're going to switch over to President Trump's speaking that's going on right now. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this up. Trying to get through the commercials here. All right, here we go.
Many great North Carolina patriots, including Congressman Richard Hudson. Where is Richard? Richard Hudson, Richard. He's a big, wonderful, wonderful guy, wonderful warrior, Richard. Thank you. A man who I've just been involved in from the day he first went in. I endorsed him. Everyone said, who is he? Turned out to be an incredible congressman, but now he's running for Attorney General, and he's going to be your next Attorney General, Dan Bishop. Where's Dan? Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Get out and vote for him. He's incredible. Great job. And you were a great guy. Richard, we're going to miss him in Congress, but that's okay. Great luck, Dan. Congressional candidates, Addison McDowell. Big victory, Addison. They're way ahead in the polls. Brad Knott. Thank you, Brad. Pat Harrigan. Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Good. Mark Harris. They like you. And the Speaker of the North Carolina House, a man who's done an incredible job. He gets it. He gets it. He really gets it. Tim Moore. Thank you, Tim. And when it came time to pick a chairman of the Republican National Committee and Convention and everything else having to do with national politics, I came to a man named Michael Whatley of North Carolina. And the reason is because at 10 o'clock in the evening, when we all had those televisions on, and I saw weird things happening, drops at 3:02 in the morning and all the things that were happening, North Carolina held totally steady. He had 602 lawyers working. He held it steady. And other states, I was leading by a lot, and all of a sudden people went to sleep. They thought that was over, and I said no, because I know how bad these people are. But North Carolina had held steady. He was the head of your Republicans in North Carolina, did a phenomenal job. So I immediately called him. I said, let's do it. And I got him. Please stand up. Please stand up. You have done a fantastic job. Fantastic. And working with Laura Trump, what a team that is, right? She's doing a good job, right? And I said, don't worry about the votes. Just guard the votes, right? Just guard. We have all the votes you need. Just guard the votes. And he's doing that. And he's doing it at levels that nobody's seen before, and I hope we're going to have a big, beautiful surprise, because we're not going to let them steal this election. And they didn't do it in North Carolina. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Great job. A wonderful gentleman who I met a little while ago, Michael Verardo, and he is a wounded warrior and just a highly respected guy. Michael, wherever you may be. Michael? Hi, Michael. Wow. You look good. I'm not messing with you, Michael. Wow. Good-looking guy. Thanks, Michael. Great patriot, great person. Members of the Charlotte Police Department are here. Please stand up. You are phenomenal. What a job. What a job they do. Thank you. What a job they do. Thank you very much. And Chief of the Catawba Nation, Brian Harris. Brian, where are you, Brian? They've been so supportive. They've been so supportive. Thank you very much. From the moment we take back the White House from Kamala Harris, they switch. It's every day. Next week they'll have somebody else when they find out how bad she is. She's worse than he is. But when we take it back from Kamala and crooked Joe Biden, the most crooked president we've ever had, I believe we are going to have the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. We're going to do it. We're going to do it fair. Starting on day 1, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. Inflation is killing our people. They've got inflation. I think real inflation is closer to 50%. They like to say 23, 24%. No, they don't add everything. I think, look at interest rates. They're through the roof. Nobody can buy a house. You can't get the money even if you want it. To bring down the prices of all goods, we will stop the Biden-Harris war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. That includes racing car. You know, that's good. You're going to spend a lot less money for your gasoline. You have that special stuff. I will terminate the Green New Scam, and I will end the Biden-Harris electric vehicle mandate on day one. And we already gave you the largest tax cuts in history, but we will pass massive tax cuts for workers, and that includes, remember, no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. To protect North Carolina workers, I will revoke China's most favored nation status. Think of it. They're most favored because they're a developing nation. Well, we're a developing nation, too, because we've gone to hell and back. We're a developing nation, too. They are considered a developing nation, so they get advantages that we don't get. Not going to happen. And I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means that if China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax of 100 or 200% immediately, right back. It's basically you hurt us and we hurt you, an eye for an eye. Look at it any way you want. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after we, the people in this room, win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. We're going to get it settled quickly. I'll do it as president-elect, I'll do it. And I will be doing something that nobody else even talks about. We have never been so close. I will prevent World War III. We're heading to World War III. We're heading right into the teeth of it because we have stupid people representing us, and they're being represented against people that are at the top of their game. I will restore peace through strength, which is what we have. And in my next term, we will build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our country, a dome the likes of which nobody has ever seen before. And it will be entirely made in the USA. You know, Ronald Reagan wanted to do that, but honestly, it's a long time ago. We didn't have the technology. Now we have the greatest technology in the world. And in case there's a problem, we're going to be stopping them, but we're going to have the best in the world. It's all going to be made right here. I will not cut one penny from Social Security or Medicare, and I will not raise the retirement age. One day. I won't even raise it by one day. And, you know, they're talking about, she's talking about lifting the retirement age. She's going to have to, because they're putting a lot of the illegal aliens that are coming into our country. They're going onto Social Security and Medicare. They're going into a hospital. We're not going to raise it one penny or one day. I kept that promise, remember, for 4 years. For 4 years, they said, oh, he's going to raise Social Security. No, for 4 years I didn't, and I won't do it. I'm the one that won't do it. And remember, I said something else. I'm going to keep you out of wars. I kept you out of wars. We had no wars with Donald Trump as your president. We defeated ISIS. We beat ISIS in 4 weeks as opposed to 5 years, which was supposed to take. Remember this, our military is great. They're not woke. The guys on top, the political guys, are woke. But they can't convince them. I saw ISIS dissolve before us once I put the military on it, once they had the commander-in-chief behind them. We have great generals, and there's not woke. They're not woke. They won't be woke. They can't be talked into being woke. They'd leave before that happens. But we have people on the top that are woke, and they're all gone. We're going to get rid of them so fast. We're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they've ever been before. We'll have to work with Democrat governors and mayors in many cases, but we're going to rebuild our cities. They're crime-ridden, horribly run places right now. We're going to clean them up, and we're going to do something that's really good, and we're going to take our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. We're going to clean it up, renovate it. We're going to rebuild our capital city so that it is no longer a nightmare of murder and crime, but rather it will become the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world. We're going to take over the management, the leadership of it. Right now, you go from North Carolina, let's go and see the Washington Monument on the assumption that they don't change the name, which they want to. They want to change the Jefferson Memorial. Not going to happen. Remember when we were having a problem in Washington?
Again, guys, for the people just joining the show, we are live streaming the
bill
Trump
said
rally.
if you touch a monument, if we catch you even in the act, you go to jail for 10 years. And there's no 10 years equal 1 year. It's 10 years.
Trump here.
You served 10 years. And it was amazing. I looked outside the beautiful White House windows. I looked outside and people were just leaving town. It was an incredible thing. I took old legislation that frankly you could never pass, very old, 1926, and I restored it, and I said, 10 years, if you take down that, and they were all getting ready. They had ropes around the necks of these gorgeous pieces of art. I said, you do that, you go into jail for 10 years, and they left those ropes hanging. They couldn't get out of town fast enough. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the shoulders of our children. And I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And I will keep men out of women's sports, and I will fully uphold our great Second Amendment. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore very quickly free speech, and I will secure our elections. Finally, we're going to get them secured. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and voter ID. But until then, Republicans must win. We want a landslide that's just, and it is really an expression that's used. It's very tough for them. Too big to rig. We're way ahead. We're way ahead. By more than even the polls say. We have to make it so big, Richard, that they can't do it. There's not a thing they're going to be able to do about it. So too big to win. You have to get out there and vote. Get everybody. Get everybody. Get them all. Remember this, it's a strange thing. Evangelicals, Christians, they don't vote very much. We got to vote. They got to vote. They're great. They're such great people. Gun owners, the NRA, you know, gave us their total endorsement. But gun owners don't vote. They tend not to vote. We have to get them to vote. If we could get the evangelicals, Christians, if we can get gun owners to vote, it's not even an election. But they got to get out, so get your people at church to vote, okay? If you want to save America, get your friends, get your family, get everyone you know and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote election day. I don't care how you vote. You got to get out. You got to vote. And make sure your vote counts. Follow your vote. Check your vote. Check it. You can do it. Check your vote, that they don't rob you of your vote. Such an important thing. And if you want to help ensure election integrity, sign up at protectthevote.com. Protectthevote.com, and watch those people. Make sure they don't cheat. Michael's doing a great job, and you just watch him, Michael. From Asheville to Raleigh, and this is, I have to tell you, an incredible group of people. The spirit, the incredible spirit. We have so much to say, but in conclusion, from Asheville to Raleigh, from Greensboro to Greenville, from Wilmington to right here in Charlotte, this state was forged by some of the toughest men and some of the strongest women ever to walk the face of the earth. Our American ancestors were backcountry farmers and frontier settlers, woodsmen, craftsmen, workers and warriors who poured their love into this land, and they loved their families, and they wanted to take care of their families at all costs. They climbed the mountains, fought the battles, conquered the dangers, tamed the unknown wilderness, built the factories, and gave everything they had to make America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a nation in decline. Can you believe it? We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, lost its willpower, and lost its strength. We are a nation that has quite simply lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. We'll be a great nation again. With our leadership, every disaster Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have created can be fixed, and can be fixed very quickly. Every problem can be solved, and every wrong can be rectified. By this time next year, America's borders will be strong, sealed, and secure. Inflation will be in full retreat. Our economy will be roaring back. Optimism will be surging. The American dream will be thriving again for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. Law and justice will reign all throughout our land. Freedom will be restored. The flame of liberty will be burning bright. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the worst administration in the history of our country, will be a fading memory of the past. And our great silent majority, including the once forgotten men and women of our country, will be the one shaping America's magnificent future when I am the 47th President of the United States. Because we are all Americans, and together we will show November 5th to be the most important day in the history of our country. There will never have been a more important day, because if we don't do the right thing, and if it doesn't work out, it's got to work out. If it doesn't work out, we won't have a country. We're going to have a great country again. We're going to have a great country again. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. We will make America free again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you, North Carolina. Thank you very much.
You know, I will say, no matter what they do, they cannot make Kamala Harris's rallies look like that, no matter how much billionaires pay people to be there. So we're going to go ahead and switch back to Biden's historical speeches while we're waiting for him to actually speak here. Give me just a second to switch that over.
The capital of Ukraine, but Putin thought it was the mother home of Russia. the capital would fall in less than a week. But the Ukrainian people, backed by a coalition to help build, stopped them. Today, Kyiv still stands, and NATO stands stronger than it has ever been. During the week of this summit, several heads of states made it a point in their statements to thank the United States and to thank me personally for all that NATO has achieved. NATO is not only stronger, NATO is bigger because we led the charge to bring in Finland and Sweden into the alliance, and it makes a gigantic difference. Excuse me. Meanwhile, my predecessor has made it clear he has no commitment to NATO. He's made it clear that he would feel no obligation to honor Article 5. He's already told Putin, and I quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." In fact, the day after Putin invaded Ukraine, here's what he said. It was genius. It was wonderful. Some of you forgot that, but that's exactly what he said. But I made it clear a strong NATO is essential to American security. And I believe the obligation of Article 5 is sacred. And I would remind all Americans, Article 5 is invoked only once in NATO's long history, and that was to defend America after 9/11. I made it clear that I will not bow down to Putin. I will not walk away from Ukraine. I will keep NATO strong. That's exactly what we did, and exactly what we'll continue to do. Now, the future of American policy is up to the American people. This is much more than a political question. It's more than that. It's a national security issue. Don't reduce this to the usual testament that people talk about, issues of being a political campaign. It's far too important. It's about the world we live in for decades to come. Every American must ask herself or himself, is the world safer with NATO? Are you safer? Is your family safer? I believe the American people know. The answer to all those questions is yes. And I believe the American people understand that America is stronger because of our alliances. I believe the American consensus from Truman to Reagan to me still holds today. America cannot retreat from the world. We must lead the world. We are an indispensable nation, as Madeleine Albright wrote. Now let me turn to three other key issues. Just this morning, we had a great economic report showing inflation is down. Overall prices fell last month. Core inflation is the lowest it's been in 3 years. Prices are falling for cars, appliances, and airfares. Grocery prices have fallen since the start of the year. We're going to keep working to take down corporate greed to bring those prices down further. Meanwhile, Trump's calling for a 10% tariff on everything Americans buy, including food from overseas, vegetables, and other necessities. And economists tell us that that would cost the average American working family another $2,500 a year. It's a tax of $2,500 a year. Second, our efforts to secure the border, southern border, is working. After Trump killed the bipartisan effort to secure the border, Republicans and Democrats had worked on, because he thought it would benefit me and make him a loser, Republicans walked away. So I took executive action last month. As a consequence, working with Mexico, border encounters have gone down over 50%. The current level is lower today than when Trump left office. Third, for months, the United States has been working to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, to bring the hostages home, to create a path for peace and stability in the Middle East. 6 weeks ago, I laid out a detailed plan in writing. It was endorsed by the UN Security Council, the G7. That framework is now agreed on by both Israel and Hamas. So I sent my team to the region to hammer out the details. These are difficult, complex issues. There's still gaps to close. We're making progress. The trend is positive, and I'm determined to get this deal done and bring an end to this war, which should end now. Let me conclude where I began. We're the United States of America. We are the indispensable nation. Our leadership matters. Our partnerships matter. This moment matters. We must rise to meet it. With that, I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here. Reuters, Jeff Mason.
Mr. President, your political future has hung over the NATO summit a little bit this week. Speaker Pelosi made a point of suggesting that your decision on whether to stay in the race was still open. George Clooney and a handful of lawmakers have called on you to step aside. Reuters is reporting tonight that UAW leadership is concerned about your ability to win.
UAW just endorsed me, but go ahead.
Thank you. My question for you is, how are you incorporating these developments into your decision to stay? And separately, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. So there's a long way to go in this campaign. And so I'm just going to keep moving. And because, look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish. There's so much, we've made so much progress. Think about it. Think about where we are economically relative to the rest of the world. Name me a world leader who wouldn't want to trade places with our economy. We've created over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 1.5 million jobs. I mean, so things are moving. We got more to go. Working class people still need help. Corporate greed is still at large. The prices, the corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic. They're coming down. And so I'm optimistic about where things are going. Danny Kemp, AFP.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about your, you mixed up Presidents Zelensky and Putin earlier today. And you now have sort of your key allies, including the British Prime Minister, the President of France, the German Chancellor having to step in and make excuses for you on that. Officials here are saying off the record that your decline has become noticeable. Hasn't this now, frankly, become damaging for America's standing in the world? Thank you.
Did you see any damage to our standing in my leading this conference? Have you seen a more successful conference? What do you think? And the Putin piece, I was talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, here, I mean, Putin. I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, guys, the idea anybody suggests that we haven't had an incredibly successful conference. How many times did you hear in that conference, I know it sounds too self-serving, but other leaders, heads of state, in thanking me, saying the reason we're together is because of Biden, because Biden did the following. Look, folks, this is, well, anyway, I thought it was the most successful conference I've attended in a long time, and find me a world leader who didn't think it was. Next one, Nancy Cordes, CBS.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned other instances in history where presidents have faced a challenge. But what makes this moment in history so unique is that it is not your enemies who are calling on you to reconsider your decision to stay in the race. It's your friends, supporters, people who think you've done a great job over the past 4 years. Have you spent time thinking about what it would mean for your legacy, which you've worked decades to build, if you stay in the race, despite the concerns that voters say they have, and you lose to someone who you yourself have argued is unfit to return to the Oval Office?
Well, look, I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started. As you recall, understandably, many of you and many economists thought my initial initiatives that I put forward, can't do that, it's going to cause inflation, things are going to skyrocket, the debt's going to go up. What are you hearing now from mainstream economists? 16 economic Nobel laureates said I've done a hell of a job. That under my plans so far and what's going to happen in the future if I'm reelected, that things are going to get much better. Our economy is growing. I was determined when I got elected to stop the trickle-down economic theory, that if the wealthy did very well, everybody else would do well. My dad was a well-read, decent guy. I don't remember much trickling down on his kitchen table. Middle-class people and working-class people need help. And so what happened is I decided to implement, was able to implement as president, what I believed when I was a senator. And that is that the way to build this economy is from the middle out and the bottom up. That way we grow the economy. And the wealthy still do very well. They do fine. And guess what? Find me an economist, a mainstream economist, who said we haven't done well. What have we not done that isn't working right now? And so we got more to do, though. We got to finish the job. And by the way, I come from the corporate state of the world. Delaware has more corporations registered in Delaware than every other state in the nation combined. I'm not anti-corporate, but corporate profits have doubled since the pandemic, doubled. It's time things get back in order a little bit. It's time, for example, if I'm reelected, we're going to make sure that rents are kept at 5% increase, corporate rents for apartments and the like and homes are limited to 5%. We're going to make a lot of changes that I've been talking about because we're going to continue to grow this economy. And by the way, I know, remember how I got so roundly criticized for being so pro-union, not labor, union. Well, guess what? I've been the most pro-union labor president. My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. We can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this, we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause, cherish it so much, a cause of American democracy itself, must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. There's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet from climate crisis is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy, Supreme Court reform. You know, I will keep working to ensure America remains strong, to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin from taking over Ukraine and doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war. We're also working around the clock to bring home Americans being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so far since my inauguration. On that day, I told you, as I stood in that winter, we stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower the cost for everyone, not just seniors. More people have health care today in America than ever before. And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials.
You know, it's funny. It sounds to me like he's doing his own campaign
Most
speech
significant
here.
climate law ever in the history of the world. the first major gun safety law in 30 years. Today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe the American people will walk away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin that's hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders have given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep our republic is now in your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been the privilege of my life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, guys. So that's the end of his little talk. He definitely toned out the rhetoric from before. So killed that video. Still at my interest. All right, cool. Oh. Yeah, let me get back here. Well, we're getting better at the things that we're able to do here, but at the same time, Still challenges. All right, and I saw Brad's back there. There he is. Welcome. I started the stream without you so we could get everything started. Can you hear me, Brad? Let's see. I got you unmuted.
Yeah, you had me unmuted. You had me muted. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep. And now how about Brian? Are you there? Well, he is technically there, but
is he muted?
So, well, no, I unmuted him, but
Okay.
well, hopefully he's able to chime in here. So yeah, it was more. I wasn't surprised by any speech. Donald Trump was typically Donald Trump, and well, okay, I was surprised by Biden because like he actually kind of got rid of the rhetoric that he had going. You know what I mean? So that was kind of great. Now, I do have, since we're going to be talking about Nazism in America here, I want to point out, like, I keep hearing liberals say this Hitler was elected crap. Okay, Hitler was not elected. So I got to get that like right off the top of the board. Hitler was appointed by President Hindenburg. Okay. His party actually lost the parliamentary elections, but because of political violence, they were forced. He was forced to appoint him as the supreme chancellor or as the chancellor. Okay. Now, they try and say that the right is the one that are violent. So I just want to like counter that a little bit. So with some videos.
Well, anybody that was alive in 2020 knows that the right isn't violent.
Yeah, but here's some stuff that's going on like right now.
Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas starts us off from Washington. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. Our audience is about to see the frantic seconds in the moments after the gunman tried to kill former President Trump. It's all caught on police body cam video. And warning to our family at home, what you're about to see may be disturbing.
Okay, so that came across, right?
You can't expand that?
Well, but I mean that, but right there, first video, he says
first thing in the morning.
Yeah. So, anyways, so here's what's going on right now, and of course, they say they suddenly arrest and brutalize protesters and face resistance. Okay, that's not what I see in this video. So here we go.
Are they beating up a cop?
Yeah. Back up! So they're trying to arrest somebody and they started attacking the cop.
Get back! We're back, you fucking idiot! We're back! Shut the fuck up! Get the fuck off him! Get the fuck off him! Bro, he's strangling you!
Okay, so let's stop sharing that one, and then I got another one here. Hold on.
He was a young man.
Oh, I lost the other clip. Okay.
You lost it?
I lost it.
It's not like it's a fucking set of khakis now, is it? How'd you lose gorgeous George?
All right, I'm going to see if I got it here. Hold on. Gosh, darn it. Okay. Let's see.
Can you
I
hear
might
me
have accidentally
crunching?
sent. Huh?
Can you hear me crunching?
Yeah.
Will you mute my mic?
Yeah, I can do that. All right, I can't find the other clip, but obviously, what's going on right now in the country is 100% political violence by the left. Okay, even when you get down to all these places where they try and point at the right and say they're engaging in political violence, that's not what's actually happening. If you go all the way back to Charlottesville, now Nazis are disgusting. Not that I would say that all of those people were Nazis, but in Charlottesville, when people were marching, they were attacked by Antifa types. During BLM, we saw people getting attacked by BLM and Antifa. And now people are getting attacked by Palestinian protesters. Okay, now I will point out one thing, and you can probably follow along with this, Brad. Oh, hold on. Brian's back. All right, Brian, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I've been back for a long time. Just you've
Oh,
been ignoring
okay.
me.
I just didn't see you there. So your tab disappeared, and now it's back. So
Yeah, it's because I'm going through a storm north of Atlanta, and it's causing my signal to be in and out.
I got you. Well, just make sure you got both hands on the wheel while you're driving. We don't need you running anybody over.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what we have going on in this country right now is political violence by the left. And now that's Nazism 101. That's exactly how Hitler got himself appointed, was by engaging in political violence. Now, back then, they were saying they were against communists, and they were saying that they were against Jews, and they were saying that they were anti-Europe because of the Treaty of Versailles. Okay, so what do you have the left doing in this country right now? Well, they're clearly anti-Jew, just like they were in Nazi Germany. They are vilifying white people and the supposed patriarchy, a threat to a radical form of government, and they are using the political violence to try and do it. Now, they've also used their political pressure campaign, which is exactly what they did to Biden. So all of these business elites that were funding the Democrat campaigns, they all came together and decided to push Biden out by withholding money. Well, guess what happened in Germany when the Nazis came to power, when Hitler got appointed as the chancellor? All the rich people, all the rich industrialists got together and joined power with the People's Party, which is, that's what the Nazis were. They were the Nationalist Workers Socialist Party. So they got together with all the industrialists that were providing all of the money, and they used a money and pressure campaign to keep or in order to get Hitler appointed as chancellor, even though his party didn't win an outright majority. They had about 40 to 45% of the vote. Well, that sounds kind of familiar. Right about now, the Democrats have about 40 to 45% of the vote. They decided to bring in all the political heavyweights and all the big money people, and they're pushing them to replace Biden on the ticket, the one who was elected. Just like with Hitler, they pushed Kamala into this position, even though the Democratic primary voters did not vote on her.
But they say they did.
Yeah, well, and then that's the propaganda too, because like almost immediately the Nazi Party was using their mouthpieces in the media there to promote how this was like free and fair, and that it was the right thing for him to do to appoint chancellor. The media acted as the mouthpieces for the Nazi Party, and that's
yeah.
so.
Oh, I was just gonna say that would have been the perfect spot for you to play that bit I told you of Schumer talking about Kamala and how they've put her into, you know, from the
Yeah,
ground.
everybody hated this woman 5 minutes ago. Now it was the same thing with Hitler. He won a small little local election. Sound like somebody we know? Like he took control there, and then he actually like led kind of a popular revolt in the Weimar Republic, and ended up going to jail. Okay, so like that's how Hitler ended up in jail, and that's where he wrote Mein Kampf. We all know about this. Okay, so then he came out and he got smarter about the politics and everything that he did to get himself in the position of chancellor. It's exactly what the Democrats have done and are doing right now to this day to prop up Kamala Harris. So, and I wonder where Brad went. Anyway.
Is he off now? Is he gone?
Yeah, he is back. Okay. All right. So should I turn the mic back on, Brad? You ready to roll? Okay. 30.
Brother Brad.
30. I don't know. I don't know what 30 what means, but maybe 30 seconds. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what happened there. And they're kind of doing the same thing with Kamala Harris. They're like, she didn't win an election. And I'm actually willing to bet that this was kind of always the plan. They couldn't push Kamala Harris. There was no way. Okay. Like the voters already rejected her once because she was so radically liberal. And it's not a stretch to say that she was radically liberal. She had very close elections in California where it was a competition to see who was the most radical when she was running.
She is so far left. She put socialists to shame. I mean, she was the furthest left senator in the Senate with AOC and all the others in office. And
yeah, and she actually makes the squad. She puts the squad to shame. So for tomorrow's show, I'm working on putting together a compilation video that will be Kamala's greatest hits with all the radical batshit things that she's supported. Like, and then of course she's also proven that everything she says is just political opportunism, because like it was the same thing after she hold on, let's get your mute off here, Brad. All right, Brad, you there?
Yeah, sorry guys, I had to eat some KFC.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Well, but, Rob, I'll say the Democrats' non-enthusiasm is showing through, man. Just listening to him talk and Schumer going, and man, we're excited. And then he starts clapping and he goes, oh, don't nobody else in the
yeah. And hey, all of our viewers over there on Rumble right now, we do have the chat open. So if you want to like put in a comment, then that's great. You can absolutely feel free to do it. Anyway, so another parallel to Kamala. Yeah.
Okay. Because my shit lags for some reason. I don't know why.
We're good.
Yeah. So Schumer does that, and that's stupid. Her the arena that everybody says is thousands of people came to was barely a high school gym. There wasn't as many people there as the media is saying. She didn't even pass her bar exam. She literally had to have something warm in her belly from Willie Brown in order to get where she went. Right? And then she ran against her boss for the prosecutor or whatever of San Francisco. I don't remember if it was prosecutor or whatever, but that's how she ended up getting to where it gets is retarded. Yeah, why anybody would be down for her is ridiculous.
She was installed as a prosecutor, then an attorney general, and then she ran for Senate.
Like, I know how you want to compare her to Hitler, and you do make valid points, but I think Hitler was a little bit smarter than this stupid bitch.
Well, I heard when she ran for the
no
DA,
doubt.
there was pretty much no competition. I mean, there was.
But don't forget, it took Hitler.
Yeah, it was between her and another Democrat. So
yeah, don't forget, it took Hitler getting imprisoned twice before he got his act together.
Yeah.
Right. It's weird that George Soros also helped Hitler as well as Kamala. He supported her when she was running for the DA.
Wow, that's an amazing point. Yeah, he was one of the Hitler Youth, and he supports Kamala Harris, and he supports all these DAs that refuse to prosecute crime, and he supports and funds Antifa and BLM that are causing chaos in the streets.
I'm telling you, I can't prove it, but I guarantee you he was the one who ratted out Anne Frank.
Well, you do know that also Clinton's chief of
He
staff.
was the bear Jew.
Clinton's chief of staff,
Jew hunter,
is marrying Soros's son. So, Brian, you're kind of quiet, so I'm gonna turn up the volume on your mic here. So, say something so we can see how it comes across.
You better be careful.
Well, it's a miracle that I agree with one thing the BLM actually said for the first time since they became an organization.
Yeah, they came out today
because they're turning on her.
Yeah, they're turning on Harris.
They were complaining about Harris. Yeah,
that she you motherfuckers, she was bailing
that
you
she
guys
was just
out.
put into office and nobody actually selected her. That she's being forced out.
So, and
The
even though
party
she
of
was one of the biggest
democracy.
cheerleaders when they were burning down our country.
Yeah,
I like how Biden said that now it's a republic.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny.
He didn't once mention democracy because democratically he should be the one fucking running for president.
Yep.
Why is it?
You knew since they're like
republic.
Yeah, he called it a republic in the speech.
Wow. After all the Democrats that keep complaining that Republicans wanted a republic and they keep bringing it up.
A constitutional republic.
We're democracy. It's like BS.
Yeah.
We're a
Obviously it's clear they right.
On the local level.
Yeah. To be clear, how undemocratic our country actually is. The only office that is actually voted for at the national level democratically originally was the House of Representatives, because they were intended to be representative of the populace. The Senate was appointed by the state houses, which should reflect the individual will of the states, because those are elected directly by the people in the state. And then they changed it so it was directly by vote, but I'm actually thinking that it should go back, because what you end up having is a bunch of a bunch of senators that don't actually represent the interests of their state. Like, well, you still have that with like Congress people. Like, look at Nancy Pelosi. What has she done for California other than pass friendly legislation for her buddies in Silicon Valley so she could insider trade the stock?
She's made ice cream companies rich in California.
So now let's talk about some of the other trademarks of Nazism. Okay, they used regulation instead of seizing ownership of private industry. They used government regulation of industry to make all the industry do exactly what they wanted, to produce what they wanted when they wanted. Well, I'm pretty sure that would be the Democrats mandating that car companies have to
exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly. I was going to say exactly what you're saying. That's like the government forcing the car companies or the medical companies in the having fixed prices or having to spend tons of money to put out partial zero emissions. I mean, we're like near damn near partial zero emissions. That's your PZEV that's on your vehicle. Okay, that stands for partial zero emissions vehicle. That means that you're putting out thousands of emission as opposed to what it was back in like the 70s, right?
Right.
So we pretty much got that taken care of. Why do we need to add any more restrictions or even get rid of fossil fuels for that matter?
Well, I mean, we have one of the cleanest. We have some of the cleanest air in the world, even though we have
Mhm.
like multiple times more cars and multiple
Right.
times more traffic.
But so they
pretty much
force these companies into damn near bankruptcy, right? And then they label them too big to fail, right? They did the same thing with the housing crisis too, right? And nobody sees it, but that's what they're trying to do with Medicare, right? They want it to be a one-person payment healthcare system.
Yeah, and then they want to throw all the you know, it's funny that they say that Trump's a threat to Medicaid and Social Security, yet they're the ones that want to pump a bunch of people into the system that didn't pay into it, which is going to almost instantaneously bankrupt it. Now they're probably thinking, oh well, you know, the federal government with our budget can fix that, but that's not well, but that's not possible. Okay, so if you try and do a wealth tax, well, no, but I'm going to carry that out.
Some of our viewers may not.
Okay, so if you try and carry out the tax the rich idea, what that means is you're taxing people based on their assets. Okay. Well, what that means is if you bought a house for $250,000 and it's now worth $1.1 million, you're now the rich and you're going to have to sell your house to pay that wealth tax. That is what that means. That is what tax the rich means. It means they are going to tax you on assets when you've made no profits off of them. That's not income. That's seizing property to fuel government programs.
And they're not gonna pay you back money if you lose money on those investments.
Absolutely not. And
they're just gonna make you pay a little bit less taxes because you have a little bit less, right?
No, but what's even better is they're probably also going to tax you if you did make a profit on it. They're then going to also tax you on the profit that you made selling those assets. So they're going to debit tax you twice on the same sale.
Well, and then when you hand it off to your kids in your will, then they're going to tax your kids on the same money that you already taxed on 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Like leaving your house to your kids doesn't do any good unless you also set aside about 40% of the value in order to cover the taxes, or they're going to be forced to sell the house anyway.
Yep, to pay the death tax.
Yeah, exactly. So, and why? Well, that gives the government then. And then with the government getting involved in covering all of these mortgages for people that can't afford mortgages, well, what does that end up doing? Well, guess who ends up owning those securities at the end? The government. So now the government's going to be in possession of a bunch of properties when nobody can pay for their houses.
Now what you do is what the polygamists do. Always have your house under construction.
So your house can be under construction going up in value.
Yeah. So, but you just always leave part of your house not finished. Like, the back half of the siding isn't finished, so it looks like a finished house from the front, but in the back, it's just plywood and shit. That's what they do in fucking Arizona, northeastern Arizona, and southern Utah.
That's hilarious. So okay, so then the next similarity between the Democrats. Well, I mean, I really want to hone in on the fact that what they're vilifying. They're vilifying their political opponents as evil, just like the Nazis vilified the socialists and the Democrats there. They're vilifying entire groups of people. Right now, they're vilifying Jews and they're vilifying white people. Okay? And they're trying to use political violence to push the narrative and remove their political opposition. Like just 2 days ago, an 80-year-old man was ran over for having a Trump flag.
Yeah.
Like that's political violence. But see, unlike the rare occurrences where they point to like January 6th, okay, they pointed to
that's the only one that they have. That's literally the only one they have.
We've got a whole year of 2020. Then we have before that we had they marched on the Capitol and burned down a church in May. So like before the Summer of Love even started, they burned down a church, a historic church in Washington, D.C. And then you got And then you got out of control crime where these people are like attacking and stealing everything. So they're using the same political violence. And, it's kind of funny. So like I made a post about this the other day on X, but they talk about, white people are a threat to society, yet and white people with guns specifically. Yet it's funny. There's a couple groups that are responsible for the majority of violent crime. Black people are responsible for 60%. Hispanic people are responsible for about 20%. So combined, that's 80% of violent crime. And then when you get to gun violence, when you get to gun violence, like 70% of gun violence is committed by people that have criminal records. So they wouldn't be committing that gun violence if they were in jail where they belong. Okay. And then another 5% are the crazy people, and the Democrats are the ones that wanted to shut down all the insane asylums and let the people run the streets.
Yeah, because that's their foot soldiers.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the asylums, they were literally only there for people that were a danger to society. So instead, all of those people are out, and who knows where the overlap is? Okay,
what's messed up though is the fact that some of those insane asylums were treating the patients unethically. I mean, they were not great. So I mean, it's like, but still, it's like it's like what we've got going at almost every election: the better of two evils, right?
Well, okay,
so it's like you either leave them in there and they get treated like shit, or you let them out and they fucking treat everybody else like shit.
No, it's not an either or. We know they're there. We make sure that they're not treated like shit, as opposed to we put them out on the street. They're still treated like shit. They're starving to death, and then they're robbing, stealing, and murdering people. Okay.
No, I know, and so that's why the Democrats want them, so they can, because they're easily manipulated.
Okay. So,
and dependent on the drugs.
But the reality is, okay, so only 10% of people in this country that own guns commit violent crime. Okay. Mm-hmm. So why would you like target a group that's 10% by taking away that's 90% that are law abiding by taking away their guns, instead of targeting the main group that's responsible for the gun violence, and that's criminals and mentally ill people. And this kid was either mentally ill or put up to it that tried to shoot Trump.
Or both.
These people committing political violence, like on that clip there's obviously something wrong with them. They're mentally ill. Mm-hmm. So now the difference is that's one thing that they've like flipped the script on. Well, kind of. So they've flipped the script on it. Like homeless people, oh, we're compassionate. You can't call them homeless. 20 years ago, it's like, oh, they're homeless. We need to be compassionate and get them off the street. Now we're acting like they have a right to suffer.
Right. Wherever they want.
Yeah, well, that's not compassion. That's ridiculousness. That's also like saying that, reproductive rights is compassion. Yeah, well, I might believe in that if you didn't build 90% of the abortion clinics in Black and brown neighborhoods. That's not compassion. That's not women's rights.
I also would believe that if your Planned Parenthoods like actually gave women reproductive health care, like help them reproduce, not help them keep from reproducing.
Yeah. So, and my ex, after she had her miscarriages, she went into Planned Parenthood just to get birth control, and they were like pushing all kinds of propaganda that like, oh, it can affect your body, and if you like end up pregnant, you can always have an abortion. Well, she had to terminate 2 pregnancies that weren't viable because of like long story, but it was dangerous.
Yeah.
So like we went through all of that and like had to deal with that. But then they're like still like even trying to like deprive her of actual family planning. She wanted birth control, and they're trying to like tell her that she doesn't need birth control. She can just, if she does get pregnant, then she can get an abortion easy.
Just kill the baby.
Yeah. And that's so much easier on your body than some hormones.
Yeah. So I mean, it's ridiculous. But no, like the whole Planned Parenthood thing, Like even that was a Nazi program too. Like Margaret Sanger was a freaking Nazi. She was a member of the Nazi Party, and she was a eugenicist that believed that people with melanin shouldn't breed.
Yeah, and then
where did
which
her
is why they
organization
want to find out if your kids have a disability. When they want you to run those tests when she's pregnant, they want to so they can detect if they have like Down syndrome or cleft palate. Well, what does it matter? What does it matter? Oh, so then I can decide whether or not I want to keep. What? Fuck you. Oh, sorry.
You know, it's funny though, because there was another group of people in history that wanted to eliminate babies that were born with disabilities, and that was the Nazis. And yet, that's one of the excuses. That's one of the excuses the Democrats use for there needing to be abortion, is so you can kill people with disabilities. So, wow, I think we just came across another point where the Democrats are clearly the Nazis.
Ridiculous.
So I'm just saying, yeah, Nazism is alive and well in America, but it's not on the right, because Nazis were never far right. They never were. Okay, so and I've done the scale before, but in the middle you got moderate Democrats and you got moderate Republicans. Okay, then you go to a little to the right and you have kind of mainstream Republicans, and you go to a little bit to the left and you got mainstream Democrats. You go further to the left and you get these democratic socialists, and communists. Okay, you go further to the right, you get libertarians that are like, get rid of every part of government that you can. My life.
I think libertarians are more towards the middle of both parties. But I think that the
no. You still, a year later, you still don't know what a libertarian is.
well, okay, you mean to tell me that libertarians are like no abortion at all?
No, libertarians are. It's none of the government's fucking business.
Exactly. Republicans are no abortion at all. We want the government to tell you you can't have an abortion. That's extreme right. Now, there are some people that are like, okay,
extreme right.
Okay, see, so that doesn't make any sense.
So let me finish my point, okay? So the idea behind libertarians. Now, on that, libertarians do believe in laws against murder and prosecuting for murder, and a large majority of the libertarians are actually anti-abortion because they consider it murder. Okay, I would argue a larger percentage of libertarians are against abortion because they also see it as a government-funded murder campaign. Okay, so that's the reality. Okay, but libertarians think that the government should, in general, stay out of your life. Okay, so when you go further right than the government should stay out of your life, what do you got? Anarchists, people that believe in no government at all. That's the opposite.
I think that's more like, God, dude, that's.
But that I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm just saying that's what the extreme right is.
No, I'm trying to think, because I don't know any. I guess I don't know any extreme right people, because as far as I know, everybody is like, we gotta have laws. And there has to be. Most people that I talk to are like, there has to be rules on abortion. Women that decide that abortion is a fucking contraceptive, that's not a cool thing, and that usually there's a limit to abortion. And then whatever.
But the Democrats don't want that because they call it women's rights, but it's actually their euthanasia program for poor.
Well, they say it's choice, and we have a right to choice. I'm like, you guys know my stance.
It's euthanizing. It's euthanizing.
The choice starts at the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not even that, because poor people can have kids and fucking raise their kids, and that. Look at JD Vance.
No, I'm saying that's what they.
No, I know.
Look at it as. Not that's what I look at it as. That's what they look at it as. Like our viewpoints don't matter. Like our viewpoints in California don't matter, because California, the voters there want abortion. Okay.
Right. Exactly. So, and why is that? Because we had to go litigate the fucking
Because they're the same racist party that don't think black people are smart enough to get IDs. I mean, that's
But
it.
they wanted it where it is now before too. It's just the fact that it was a Republican that did it is what pisses them off. Kind of like the civil rights. The Civil Rights Act.
Everything that's good in our country since 1850 has been done by Republicans, and Democrats fought it kicking and screaming, and then tried to
The only
take
reason
credit for it.
the only reason the Civil Rights Act was signed into law is because LBJ was forced to, because he didn't have the veto power.
Right. So yeah, he actually was against it, and then he immediately said, "Okay, well, we're going to create the welfare program. I'll get him married to the government, and then we'll have these inwards voting Democrat for the next 100 years or 200 years." And now, what do you got? You got that same party that said, if we give them welfare, they'll vote for us for the next 200 years, telling people that they cannot vote for anybody but Kamala because she's black, and if you're a woman, you can't vote for anybody but Kamala because she's a woman.
Now
So
they're slaves to victimization.
Yeah, and at this point, it's the government telling you who you have to vote for. It sounds like Nazism to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so but anyway, so you go to so the far right is actually anarchist, because the further right you go, the less government they want. And I'll give you an example: Ruby Ridge. That was a veteran who came back, decided he wanted nothing to do with the government. So he got a big piece of property in the middle of nowhere where he wouldn't have to interact with the government at all. He got weapons to defend himself and his family, and they went and shot his kid.
Yeah, because of
they attacked his house. They snuck up on his house with guns and gunny suits.
Well, that's like that was stupid. Should have just went up to his house. But the same thing.
They painted him as an extremist, but he wasn't an extremist. He didn't want anything to do with the government. He was like, leave me the F alone.
Well, that's the same with the Branch Davidians, right? They just wanted to have their own compound and do their own thing. They had weapons to defend themselves because they knew what was going to happen was going to happen. It happened. Unfortunately, people died for no reason.
On the flip side, they were doing forced marriages with little girls. So
no. I'm not saying that I agree with them, but the way that shit all went down, I think it could have been handled completely different. But
But it is a good example of a group that wanted nothing to do with the government.
Right.
Okay. So then when you go to the far left, well, what do you get when you go left of socialism, which is everything should be shared with the government guidance?
That's like tyranny.
And what is it? So what is the end goal of communism? Everybody has the same thing. Okay. So what is everybody having the same thing? Equity. Well, it isn't the Republicans that keep talking about equity. It's the Democrats. Okay. So when you go further left than communism, what do you get? You get Nazism that hated communism because they do pick winners and losers in Nazism. They decide who's going to win, just like the Democratic Party does. They don't let the electoral process decide who wins and loses. They don't let the free market decide who wins and loses. They pick who wins and loses, just like the Nazis did. And they still use all of the communist tropes about helping the people, free healthcare, gun control so you're safe. They use the exact same talking points as the Nazis because they are the same. The only difference is they're not calling for the annihilation of the Jews. Oh, wait a minute. River to the sea. Okay, they're calling for the annihilation of the Jews. Oh, wait, and they also say that we need to get rid of white men. They're literally teaching in schools that whiteism needs to be eliminated. They're literally got freaking generals going and testifying in Congress about how bad
I want to know what white rage is. I want to know more about white rage. Fucking Millie Cyrus.
So yeah, so I mean, to me, it's clear that Nazism is alive and well, and it's disguised as the Democrat Party. And before they were the Nazis, they were the freaking slaveholders. Oh yeah, and I love to throw this out here. There are two presidential candidates. One of them's family owned slaves, the other one didn't, and that family would be Kamala Harris's family, Because if the guy that they say is her dad is actually her dad, they were the I want to say Browning family in Jamaica that owned like the most slaves in all of Jamaica, African slaves. Okay. But you look at her and you got to question if that's even her father. Okay. Then you throw in there, okay, if you look at the US law, if you have a baby in this country while you're on a student visa, that child is not a US citizen. That's the actual immigration law. So the only thing they step around that and get her citizenship was that her dad had an expired student visa, so he was technically an illegal immigrant. So then they make her the anchor baby. So Kamala it's anchor baby for president. And this is the woman we're supposed to believe is going to take care of the border and illegal immigration if she becomes president. She's an anchor baby.
Hey, she likes school buses and Venn diagrams.
As long as they're shaped like the Oscar Mayer hot dog truck.
And you know what? she can be unburdened by what has been.
Biden.
She can be unburdened by what has been.
Yeah, we're all going to be unburdened by what has been, which is our free society and growing economy. That's not going to stop her from burdening us with Kamala Harris. All right, so Brian, you still there? I think we lost Brian. You got any final thoughts, Brad?
No, man, just you guys got it. This ain't gonna be an easy road. We gotta let people know what's up with this fake ass lying Kamala. I don't think that's a good nickname, but Trump said it, so I'll support it.
And when you guys are out there like confronting this bullshit in the streets, don't even mention the fact that she's a DEI hire, even though she is. Don't mention the fact that she's a woman. Don't mention the fact that she's a minority. Mention the fact that she enslaved people, holding them
sucks at her job.
Yeah, that she enslaved people, keeping them locked up past their prison sentences so they could be free labor for the California state.
She's the reason our border is jacked up. She's destroyed San Francisco.
She took part in it, yeah. She was the first of the radical DAs in San Francisco that refused to prosecute actual murder. And then who did she actually imprison? Oh, yeah, black guy smoking weed.
Weird. And kept him there not because there was a bill signed to get rid of they were going to sign a bill to release some of the prisoners who had been in prison for a while and they were almost done with their sentence. But it was around forest fire time. And, you know, they make the prisoners fight forest fires. And so she was against it.
Yeah,
because she needed workers.
She kept them past their end of their sentence when they should have been released and kept them to be free labor. And she hid evidence of somebody that she had wrongfully convicted because it would have ruined her election for the Senate, and kept the guy in prison after he should have been released, knowing that the guy was wrongfully convicted. So we can also talk about her saying flat out that she wants to give Medicaid and Medicare that are almost bankrupt to every illegal immigrant. She is on the record saying it. There is video of her saying it. And I'm going to put together some of Kamala's greatest hits and try and get it ready for future shows here. Next couple days might be kind of weird. I'm going to be out of town tomorrow. And then Saturday on my gaming channel, we're doing a 24-hour stream. So I haven't figured out how we're going to do this yet, but we'll get it figured out. So maybe
tomorrow you'll be out of town?
Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be out of town in the evening. So I might hop on earlier in the day and do something. I know Brad won't be able to because he's at work. Brian will be traveling here, actually. So I don't know. I guess Saturday we can we can pause the 24-hour stream for like 30 minutes to jump on and do our show here because I don't want to leave everybody hanging. I promised you guys a show every day and I want to do it. So, but anyways, one way or another, you'll hear from us every day still going forward. But like, be on point. The Democrats are right. Nazism is alive and well and growing in this country. It's just them. That's
But
how
it's
they
on
know.
their side.
Yeah, that's how they know, because they are the Nazis and they are the ones that are promoting the Nazi agenda. Now, Brian, I see you're back. Did you want to give a final thought?
I never left, but you just had me muted on your end. But
No, it dropped you completely.
No, it actually did.
Yeah.
I understand.
I'm telling you, you weren't on the screen. It dropped you completely.
Dude.
Yeah, you're.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Whatever. I don't.
No,
Anyways, did you have any
the
final thoughts?
fact of the matter is, you're here now.
I can't. No, it's just Kamala's a joke. I mean, she was thrown into the position, which she wanted, but they pushed her in. They didn't.
Oh. You need Wi-Fi in that truck of yours, buddy.
Yeah, I guess he left a signal again. Anyway, well, thank you guys. It's 8 o'clock. We're going to be getting off here. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad we were able to bring you the streams for the Trump rally and for the Biden presser. I'm going to keep trying to bring you guys additional like up-to-date and live information. And thanks as always. If you guys can join the Warmonger Shop, go visit the warmongershop.com down there. It will allow you to check out some cool gear that we have available in the merch shop. That's actually, like, as I said before, it's technically the merch shop for my gaming channel, but I'm starting to put some stuff on there that's for us, like this great shirt, impeached, arrested, convicted, shot, and still standing. You can get that depending on the size. It starts at around $15, so it's not too expensive. You can go ahead and like buy that, like, brag up the real president and have the cool shirt conversation starter with people that aren't dangerous and deranged leftist. And why can't I get this to go away here? Okay. All right. So you guys have a great night. I was Rob. That's Brad. Brian's been in and out. Are you back yet, Brian? And that's a no. You guys have a great night. We're going to end it here. We'll see you guys tomorrow.